Guys, what's going on? I'm Sam Crack, and today's car of the day is all about Corvettes. So it's only appropriate that I'm standing next to my 2011 Corvette Grand Sport, a car that I bought at a salvage auto auction with some kind of strange damage. It rolled up over something on the driver's side, damaging a little bit of the undercarriage, a little bit of the suspension, and for the most part, a lot of the repairs have been a complete pain in my ass, but the car is almost finished, and I'm going to be giving you an update on it very soon. But today's car of the day is not about this car, it's about a 2010 ZR1, a car that is better known for doing this and not for the amazing performance bargain that it is. The C6 ZR1 is trading hands between $50,000 and $60,000 today with a clean title. That's on the lower end of this scale. And they come complete with that shitty GM quality interior that all Corvette owners hate. And I'll tell you right now, mine's got it too. It's horrendous. But as a Corvette owner, I know that we don't buy Corvettes for their interiors. We buy Corvettes for this. Now, enough of this stand-up act. Let's hop on the computer and check out this flooded 2010 ZR1 that was an absolute bargain. The link to this ZR1 and all the cars I show in today's video can be followed along at home using the links in the description box below. Now, my buddy James actually sent me this car, and you guys know James from the wrecked Mustang videos. He didn't want this car for parts, though. He wanted it for himself. And at first glance, this ZR1 looks like a car that just had a little bit of water enter the cabin, and the insurance company totaled it out. It is not unusual for that to happen. Insurance companies are known to total out cars even when water enters the cabin, kind of like the Chevy Spark donor car that I bought. That car ran, drove, and had little to no issues, but it even was issued a certificate of destruction because of water entering the cabin. Now, right here, this car has a salvage title with flood damage, which is good news. That means that here in the state of Florida, we could take it and be issued a rebuilt title, which we could then use for road use. It's got right under 40,000 miles, and it is a run and drive. Again, everything here is looking really pretty good for a flood car. Now, what I want to do is actually go through a few of these photos a little slower for you, because at second glance, what you can't really see from the seats or the carpeting, you do see a little bit of dirt up on the dashboard. Right here's a telltale sign that water got at least halfway through the interior of the car. Again, the rear carpets, while they look a little dingy, they don't look really destroyed. And the engine bay super clean. A gauge cluster is another really good indication of how high water got up in the car, because usually if water goes all the way to the top, these gauge clusters have a lot of cloudy, dirty water behind them. They're not super watertight, and of course it will damage them to the point where they don't work. But here it looks pretty much perfect. This just looks like some, watermarks from somebody cleaning it. And right here, the odometer is clearly displaying the mileage. So like most flood cars, this car could be an absolute home run, or it could be a total nightmare. It's in Knoxville, Tennessee, so the fact that it's not here in the state of Florida and it's not in the state of Texas gives us a little bit more confidence that it might not have been involved in one of those hurricane floods. A few days after the sale of this car, I reached back out to James, asked him if he had won the car. He told me no, but that he found it for sale on eBay. And here it is. It's the same exact car. You guys can verify it using the VIN numbers posted on both listings. The seller does disclose that it was a flooded or water damaged car. It doesn't have a warranty. And in the description, he even tells us that the power seats, the wipers, and the radio are not working. And he says the car did get wet. Leather dash cover removed, some water staining on the leather, like we saw in that auction listing. So the seller here on eBay seems to be pretty open and honest about the condition of the car, which is always a good thing. The pictures, again, look pretty much perfect. Now, looking at this angle, you can see that nasty water spotting on that center console. The seats do look a little worn for their age. And again, everything in the engine bay looks good. Here we got a cracked carbon fiber splitter. The picture of the dashboard here just shows you that water must have gotten fairly high in this car. It's really dirty, really nasty looking. It even looks like it cracked a little bit right here. Now we see the leather on the door panels is looking pretty nasty. Now go back to this Copart listing. The interior of the car on these Copart photos looks pretty darn decent, albeit we don't have as many photos and we don't have the close-ups that we did in the eBay listing. So being inquisitive, I hopped over to autoauctions.io, a site I've been showing you guys a lot lately, because I was interested in what the car sold for and if this car was for sale by the insurance company. Here it is right here. We can see that the car sold for $30,000. Here are the photos a little bit more blown up. This is definitely the same exact listing. Now when we scroll down, we see that the seller type actually a third party. That's where I would have been caught, and I think James would have been caught here too. We both thought that this was an insurance company car just based off of the listing. And I tend to always have an eye on the higher end Corvettes, so this was the first time I had seen this listing. But if you go back and look, this car sold 5 months ago for $24,900. Now when we click on the link here on Auto Auctions, it will take us to the original listing for this car. This is one filthy ZR1, and when we scroll down to get a little bit more information, we see that the car was originally auctioned off in Houston, Texas. That was another one of these things that kind of blinded me in the original listing, being for sale in Knoxville, Tennessee. I didn't really associate it with the Houston floods. This is obviously a Hurricane Harvey supercar casualty. Now I just want to go through these photos really quick, and again, feel free to follow along using the links in the description box below. Floodwaters contain a lot of dirt, a lot of silt, nasty stuff that will give you a nice water line. And funny enough, there is a water line on this car. Check out where it is. Pretty much all the way to the roof. Maybe the headliner made it, but it doesn't really matter. This car was underwater and likely underwater for a few days. Through Auto Auction site, we can click and view the original Copart listing. The first notable thing to me with this ZR1 is that between its original listing and its resale listing, there's only a $5,000 price increase. And I honestly think it's well justified, because here, this car looks like an absolute disaster, and it didn't run and drive, but here it does run and drive. The question is, how good does it really run and drive? And lucky for us, the current seller posted a video here on YouTube showing us the car running. So with all the research done, I think the main question here is the car worth it? These photos made me think that the car was an absolute steal at $30,000. When I saw these photos, I kind of took that thought back. But this is a big gamble for $25,000, a gamble that may be paid off. I can't imagine it was worth reselling this car for only a $5,000 profit after cleaning up and getting it running, whatever that entailed. And according to the seller's Craigslist posting, they're asking $40,000 for the car. There's substantially higher risk to this car being a flood car, whereas a clean title one, you've got little to no risk, and it's likely hardly going to depreciate on you anyway. When you go to sell it, you're going to get your money out of the clean title one. This one, if it were to ever give you a major problem, it could cost you quite a bit. I follow Corvettes pretty regularly on Copart's site. I also follow Corvette's Facebook page. And when I was looking through it the other day, I noticed that they had a 1990 ZR1. From this angle, the car looks absolutely amazing, but we see in this smaller photo that it does have a little issue going on here. So I popped open the listing here, and this is a special car that I think was underappreciated here at the auction, and somebody really took it home for an absolute steal. Now the ZR1 was first introduced during the C4 generation of Corvettes, and it's kind of near and dear to me because my uncle had one. It's actually a car that I reviewed. It's one of the first sports cars that I was ever taken for a ride on. Check out the link in the video above, and if you don't know a whole lot about this car, you'll see how special it was. Now my uncle recently sold his 94 ZR1 with only 6,000 original miles for right around the mid-30s. This ZR1 is a 1990. This is the first year the ZR1 was introduced. Even though the 94 ZR1 was more technologically advanced just by a little bit, it had a little bit more horsepower, the interior was a little bit nicer. According to the resale records, the 1990 ZR1 is the most desirable ZR1 because it is the first model year. So if the ZR1 is to appreciate more in the future, which has been called for several times from very many automotive journalists, it just hasn't really happened unless you've got like a museum quality example. This would be the one. Now in the last photo, the photo that we usually don't look a whole lot at, we have some sort of cracking and shredding in the fiberglass. If you watch my Corvette rebuild, you know that this happens very easy with Corvettes. But here in the lot details, one of the other things that makes this car hard to price is the fact that the odometer wasn't able to be read when the car was checked in. And the toughest area of damage is probably the quarter panel here, an area that we don't have particularly the best look at. Now, I would venture to guess this C4 door is easily replaceable, but I could be wrong because the ZR1 in '94 came as a wide body, whereas all the other C4s were not. Now, of course, you guys likely just want to know how much did it sell for, and here it is. This car sold for only $6,800. Really, the only thing that could be a pretty substantial issue on this car is that there's a lot of wiring underneath the hood in this area, and I'm not positive, but the whole engine computer might be right in this area. So if the damage did take out any of the wiring here, the parts for these old ZR1s are very difficult to find. But still, at only $6,800, wiring can usually be repaired, and the body repairs don't warrant tens of thousands of dollars. And if the auto bloggers are right and the ZR1 does increase in value, you've got yourself a first year 1990 ZR1 for peanuts. So even though both of the ZR1s we looked at today are no longer available for sale at Copart, the ZR1 legacy still lives on strong. We'll likely see this C7 ZR1 listed soon. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this car of the day. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Also, if you see a car that is interesting, whether it's on Copart, Craigslist, eBay, it really doesn't matter. Just be sure to send it to me, samcrackauto@gmail.com, and it might just be featured on one of these videos. Thanks a whole lot for watching, and I will catch you very soon.